most of us, relationship is probably the most difficult experience we will have in our life. This act of living in a loving, caring, divine relationship. It brings out everything within us. And because of this, I've come up with 10 essentials to have a loving relationship. So the first one is that we must always remember that love is first. It's the highest within our relationship. For most of us, we get into a relationship and we think, it's about me, it's about my wants, it's about my desires. I'm in this because I want to be loved. And what I would encourage instead is that we show up as love. And so this requires that we're willing to give first, to be with our partner first, to love them the way they want to be loved, to acknowledge them the way they want to be acknowledged. If both of us are just trying to get our personal needs met first, the relationship will absolutely fail. So this is a hugely spiritual endeavor. And it's going to bring forward all the difficult places within yourself, all the broken places within yourself. And the invitation here is to just gently put them aside and to show up as love for both your partner and those places within yourself which are struggling. So number 2 is going to sound radically different than number 1. Number 2, I'm going to say to put yourself first. And by this I mean you must make your heart first, your spiritual life first. You must take care of yourself first and foremost if you're going to show up as love in a loving relationship. Then your cup needs to be overflowing. And so this means we must have a spiritual practice. We must take time to do yoga, to go on quiet walks, to spend time, speaking with good friends or a counselor and a therapist, to work out all the inner struggles within yourself. Because if we're simply trying to be love without first knowing that we are love, without discovering first the truth of our heart, the goodness of our heart, the innocence of our heart, then yes, we will fail at being love. And so number 2 is to take care of yourself first. And that also means that we are willing to look at our shadows, to do our personal work, to do our healing work. If we're struggling with something inside, maybe it means we need to go on a walk, we need to go outside. It may mean we need to take a weekend off and spend the weekend just camping by ourselves or hiking by ourselves. It may mean that we need to get a massage. Or again, talk with a friend or talk with a family member. We truly have to take care of ourselves first so that we can fully give from our heart. Number 3 is to listen first and judge never. So often when I meet with a couple in my office, I find that there's 2 people coming forward. Both of them want to be heard, and neither of them are willing to hear the other first. And so instead they're judging their partner, they're projecting the story about their partner in their head, and then they're having this argument. And so what I encourage is that we listen first, and to listen without judgment. And this is something that I've been guilty of so many times throughout my life. I have failed at so many relationships because I was the one not listening and busy judging. And if you pull anyone aside and say, hey, how does that work out for you? It doesn't work. But normally they say, but I want them to. I need them to. First do this for me. I say, well, what if we are the bigger person? What if we listen first and listen in an open-hearted way? Oftentimes what I find is when we listen, it's so radically different what our partner wants from us, what they're trying to express, than what we are actually hearing. And we are not hearing because we're busy judging based on our own personal pain. Number 4 is a reminder that life is a mirror, that relationship is a mirror. That oftentimes the things that we are struggling with in ourselves, we are projecting those things onto our partner. We are seeing those things within our partner. And again, I have seen so many examples of this, of couples coming in A guy struggling with anger, and he comes in and he tells me how angry his wife is all the time. I always invite him, let's not worry about your wife in this moment. How about you turn around and look inside? And then he takes a moment and he realizes, oh wow, I'm the angry one. And I'm projecting my anger onto her. And this will come up time and time again. Often if we're a negative person, we'll just begin to see negativity all around us. If we're a depressed person, we will see a depressed world. If we are an anxious person, we project our anxiety into the future before it has even happened. And so the invitation here is to look at life as a mirror, to look at our outward expression. Say, what is life trying to teach me? What is life trying to show me? And from a deep sense of humility, we can actually begin to learn. We can actually begin to see what is before us. We can allow this truth to begin to break our heart open, and then we can begin to see clearly again. Number 5 is kind of a funny one. It says, to give what you want. So if you want more love in your relationship, then give more love. If you want more attention, give more attention. If you want more affection, give more affection. Most of us, what we do is we say, our partner is not being affectionate. And so then we nag at him or we nag at her. We go to them and we say, I want you to be different than how you are. And then our partner feels blamed, they feel judged, they feel as if they're doing something wrong. If you start attacking someone, saying that you want more affection, chances are they're going to fight back. But if we open our heart to our partner, and give them the love that we want, it's hard for them not to respond with love. If we want to be heard, what if we hear them first? If we want someone to speak to us in a sweet and gentle way, how about we speak to them in a sweet and gentle way first? Give it a try and see what happens. And so number 5 is to give your partner what you want to receive. And so number 6 is quite similar, and it's a matter of efficiency. Number 6 says, if you want something, then give it to yourself. Give it to yourself. If you want to be heard, hear yourself fully. It took me a long time to discover this within myself. So that oftentimes I found myself, I wanted people to hear me. I wanted my mother to hear me. I wanted my father to hear me. I wanted my children to hear me. But the thing was, I wasn't actually hearing myself. If I took the time to be silent, to go inward, and to truly listen to my heart, to truly allow this thing that wanted to be said, that wanted to be expressed, to come forward and be expressed through me, then oftentimes that's all that I needed. I didn't need my wife to hear me and acknowledge me. I didn't need my mother or my father to hear me a certain way. What was important was that I heard myself and that I began to know this truth within myself. When you begin to know your own truth, you don't need anyone to hear you. You begin to discover this incredible confidence and strength within yourself. Anytime we demand others to hear us, we demand others to see us in a certain way or a certain light, it comes from a place of insecurity. And that insecurity, we can project it onto our partner and say, you have to hear me. You have to understand why. That's coming from a place of pain, a place of suffering. When we truly know why we need to be heard, we no longer need to be heard anymore. And so this is a matter of efficiency, of knowing yourself, of being yourself, of resting in yourself. It's a funny thing really shifts within us. When we truly know ourselves and hear ourselves and be ourselves, we actually don't need a partner anymore. We don't need a mother to be a mother. We don't need our father to be our father, because everything that we are wanting outside of ourselves, we begin to discover that all those things, all those qualities, all those traits are within us. So I had a funny conversation with my wife once. She said to me, she said, "Craig, you don't need me." And I said, "That's right. I don't need you. But it's because I don't need you that I'm fully able to show up and totally love you. Because I'm not loving you from a place of insecurity. I'm not loving you from a place of neediness. I'm loving you from the openness and confidence of my own divinity." It's quite a radical shift to come to this place. Number 7 is accept your partner as they are. And accept them in both their highest divinity and their most humble humanity. Let your partner have feelings. Let them be upset. Let them be angry. Let them be confused. Let them struggle. And know in your heart that it's okay. It's part of being a human to have a full range of emotions. It's part of being a human to get confused, to fall on your face, to project, silliness and confused feelings on each other. And so number 7 is just accept your partner. Know that sometimes they're going to have good days and sometimes they're going to have bad days. But also part of accepting is knowing who and what they are, beyond their emotions, beyond their thoughts, beyond their conditioning. And by that I mean remembering why you fell in love with them. And I don't want you to remember in your mind. I want you to actively drop into your heart, to come into your heart, to see the beauty and the radiance of your partner, to see this goodness just pouring out of his or her eyes, and to know that this is the truth of them. The other day someone came into my office and she said, "Well, I don't know who my husband is. I don't know if he's this guy now who's struggling with stress and pain, or if he's this other person who I fell in love with." And I say, well, it's very clear. The stress and pain, well, that's his humanity. That's his current struggle. But that's not who he is. That's something that's moving through him. Who your husband is this divine being, this big open heart, this wonderful guy. And so accepting is being willing to see both their humanity and their divinity, and not just seeing what's wrong with them and accepting that. It's seeing the full view of what an individual is. Number 8 is the willingness just to admit that relationship can be hard. Relationship can be difficult. Right now I have a 14-year-old in my house and also a 2-year-old. And sometimes my wife comes to me and she says, "Craig, you're not being romantic like when we first met." I say, "Sweetie, well, we're having a hard time. We have a little baby in the house." And for me, it just feels good. It feels appropriate just to admit that sometimes life is hard. But we can admit that and put a period at the end of the sentence. What our ego normally does is it says, if life is hard, we must change it in some way. It's time for me to leave. I need to look for a new partner. I need to run away, or I need to change you or change the situation. But sometimes we can admit that relationship is just hard. Raising children is hard. Living in this world is hard. And it's good just to admit that out loud and just get it off our chest. But then to allow the pain to end there. Allow our conclusions to end there. And not just say, oh, because it's hard, that means I have to run away. I have to go find someone new. Number 9 is to be honest. And to be honest means that we are willing to admit what's going on within us, whether we're struggling with a pain, if we have some kind of hope or desire that's not being met in the relationship. Maybe we're struggling with some anger or an addiction or this or that. And so it's okay to admit that. But also, through being honest, we want to be honest about, again, both our humanity and our divinity. It's okay to admit that we are angry, but can we also simultaneously acknowledge that there's this deeper place within us that knows that we are okay, that life will go on, that we will get through this moment, that we will outlive this experience of anger or despair or sadness. And so, being honest, again, is being able to hold both worlds, our emotional world, and admit that we're struggling emotionally, and simultaneously to hold our divine world, and to admit that, and I'm okay. And I'm okay. Life throws us many curveballs, and most of the time when people are thrown a curveball, they get confused, they struggle, they fall on their face. But can we also admit, can we also know that even though we are flailing, that we've fallen down, that we're struggling, that also we are completely fine. And to get to know this place, we have to be willing to be quiet and to go deep within and find this other space that I'm speaking about. Number 10 is a fun one. It requires that we get in touch with this innocence, the goodness and the beauty of our heart, and to share it with our partner, to share it with our life, to share it with our children, and to share it with this world. That's the reason we are in relationship, is to share, is to give, to see and to be seen. So can we share the beauty of our heart? Can we drop out of our mind if we're struggling? Can we drop out of our emotions if we're having a hard day? And simply be this innocence, be this goodness, be this divine presence that we are, and share it with our partners, share it with our world, and to enjoy their beauty, and to enjoy our beauty together in a deeply hearted and intimate way.